Tyler, Texas is known for its beautiful scenery, friendly people, and long history rooted in both the farm and oil fields. But Tyler's most recognizable and enduring symbol is the rose. The roots of the rose run deep in Tyler. Not only is Tyler the home of the Texas Rose Festival, which began in Tyler in 1933, but its crowning jewel is the majestic 14-acre Tyler Municipal Rose Garden. Although the rose is synonymous with Tyler, roses have not always been Tyler's most treasured crop.
The main reason roses were grown here has to do with the sandy, acidic soils that are here in East Texas. Moderate temperatures, adequate rainfall, usually, was what attracted the growers to this area. Historically, the roses have been grown here back into the mid-1800s. This area has always been very strong horticulturally, and very early on was a center of nursery production for the fruit tree industry. Many peach trees, plum trees, a lot of fruit trees were grown here for the orchard industry.
There was a terrible disease called the San Jose scale that just was rampant and was just destroying peach orchards, the fruit orchards everywhere. And so they already had budders and grafters in growing peaches, so they shifted to growing roses.
Construction on what would become the Tyler Municipal Rose Garden began in 1939 after President Roosevelt approved $181,000 in WPA funding for the development of the fairgrounds and a municipal garden. This grant was the largest municipal park project ever approved by the WPA.
The country was in a Great Depression, tremendous unemployment, and the federal government began to hire people to do kind of manual labor. That was the Works Progress Administration. And so the city applied for a grant from the federal government to come and assist us in establishing a generally designated area where we would eventually have a rose garden.
For the design of the garden, local Tylerites turned to Henry Thompson, the son of local nursery owners. Henry Thompson had studied floriculture and landscape architecture at Cornell University, and his love of roses and his appreciation for the world's various garden styles was evident in his design.
The original idea that was developed during the WPA time was a garden that was made up of 7 different garden styles. There was a French garden area, English garden area, Italian area. And these were styles of gardens that they intended to create. There were a number of hard features, hardscape features, a picnic pavilion, walls and things of that nature that were here, that were completed at the time, but there were no roses planted and no actual gardens created at that time.
This hope of having a municipal rose garden, and it was a good plan, of course, was impaired or slowed down or put on the shelf, so to speak, because of World War II. And so everybody's effort was for the war effort.
Sadly, Henry Thompson would not live to see his plans completed. During World War II, Thompson served as a fighter pilot with the Air Force. Unfortunately, in November of 1944, Henry Thompson failed to return from a flight over the English Channel.
And so nothing happened from 41 through 45. And then that's when Bob Shelton came to Tyler in 1946.
Bob Shelton was a young man who had served as an officer in the Navy in World War II. When the war was over, he came to Tyler. And when he came to Tyler, he began to learn of the plan to build a rose garden here. And he loved roses, he loved gardens, and roses were very special to him. And so he decided to continue to pursue construction of the garden.
Bob Sheldon began his career in Tyler as the Director of Athletics and quickly advanced to become the Superintendent of Tyler's Parks and Recreation Department. Soon, he turned all his energies towards the resurrection of the Rose Garden project. Many obstacles stood in the way of Sheldon's dream, and soon he realized that he would need expert help if he was to turn what was now an eyesore into a lush rose lover's paradise. He turned to the Texas Rose Research Foundation's renowned plant pathologist, Dr. Eldon Lyle.
Dr. Lyle came to Tyler in around mid-30s to do research and to do research on roses. And at that time, very, very few methods of dealing with diseases on roses, which was very much a problem in production of roses. He began looking into that and some other problems that they had in growing roses.
Robert Sheldon and Dr. Lyle collaborated on plans for the garden, but their vision for what the garden would become was very different from the original design created in 1941 by Henry Thompson.
Bob is a lover of gardens. His friend, Dr. Eldon Lyle, is a lover of roses and a researcher in roses. But they're not architects. And the nature of the garden begins to change as they become the ones behind it. Their idea at that time is to create a catalog of the roses that are grown in Smith County.
Due to neglect during the war, the site where the rose garden was to be had become an eyesore.
The story went that Bob Shelton brought Dr. Lyle here and said, Eldon, this is where we're going to put our rose garden. And Eldon says to him, you can't grow roses here, Bob. It's nothing but a red clay hillside.
They had taken all the soil where the rose garden is today and taken as topsoil and put it over on the baseball field. And what was left was just clay. Bob Sheldon said, this is where we're going to have a rose garden. And Dr. Lyle said, not in that place, you're not. It'll never work.
And, you know, Bob's answer was probably along the line of just, you know, watch me, something along that line. Bob had a very, very strong character, very strong nature, and he was determined to continue have the Tyler Rose Garden here. They dug out beds, dug the soil out about 2 feet deep, and what I understand from Bob is that they got some sand, some sandy soil, which roses love to grow in, and they mixed some sewage sludge from the water utilities department, and then the street department had street sweepers that swept leaves off of the street. Of course, they were very concerned about diseases at the time, and there are soil-borne diseases, and so Bob was very fond of telling the story of taking the soil in a dump truck to a place that had lots of steam, and that was the laundromat. The dry cleaners had a lot of steam, and so they actually had it fixed up where the dump trucks had pipes, steam pipes in the bottom, and they would load sand into the dump trucks, and they would take it to the cleaners, and they had it rigged up where a hose came out of the window and tied onto the pipes that were in the back of the dump truck, and they would steam sterilize the soil that way, and then they would bring it out here, and so they kind of placed this mixture into the rose beds.
In 1952, construction and planting of the rose garden was completed. After many years of hard work, and through the tireless determination of Bob Sheldon, the Tyler Municipal Rose Garden was finally a reality.
The purpose of the Rose Garden was not to have gorgeous, beautiful, landscaped area, but it was to be a living catalog of roses. Okay, you're interested in seeing a peach rose, where are they? They're in this bed over there. So that's what it was to be, is to give people an opportunity to see the mass variety of roses.
Since that time, the Tyler Municipal Rose Garden has grown to include more than 40,000 rose bushes, approximately 500 varieties of roses. The garden also has the distinction of being one of only 24 All-American Rose Selection trial gardens. Here, new varieties of roses are evaluated.
One thing that Robert Shelton was very, very fond of telling us, he would gather us together at Rose Festival time, all of us workers out there trying to get the garden in shape for Rose Festival. And he would gather us together and he would say, people come to Tyler to see this garden, and you've had a hand in working with it. And to a great degree, he was very true. That the Rose Garden and roses have put Tyler on the map. That's what people recognize. When you say Tyler, that's what they recognize.
The Tyler Municipal Rose Garden is much more than just a rose collection. It features 16 distinct garden areas, each with a character and a beauty all its own. We begin our tour on the garden terrace outside the Rose Garden main pavilion. From this vantage point, the entire Tyler Rose Garden can be viewed. The Tyler Rose Garden is one of 24 sites in the United States for new rose cultivars under consideration for introduction through the All-American Rose Selection, or AARS. The trial roses are located along the north boundary of the garden, and each variety will be trialed for 2 years and judged at least twice per year in the spring and fall. While visiting the trial garden, notice 2 fountains that date back to 1912. The fountains were originally at the old Smith County Courthouse that was demolished in 1953. The Wagon Wheel Fountain and the Lady Banksia Arbor are both popular locations for weddings. The fountain that sits in the pool was at the old wagon yard in downtown Tyler. The arched yellow wall is the original entrance to the Rose Garden and was constructed by the WPA. Take note of the plaque on the wall recognizing the original architect of the garden, Henry Thompson. The roses surrounding the wall are all past AARS winners. The meditation garden is the ideal place to rest and reflect upon the beauty of the garden. It features 3 ponds with aquatic life, including Japanese koi and aquatic life vegetation. The bridge traversing the second pond was built by the Amish from Pennsylvania Dutch country. The Idea Garden, or Innovate, Demonstrate, Educate, and Apply, was established in 1999 by the City of Tyler in cooperation with the Smith County Master Gardeners to test and display underused varieties that have potential for East Texas landscapes. The Camellia Garden was established as a project of the former Tyler Camellia Society and was designed by Brian Thompson in the early 1960s. He was the son of the original architect for the Rose Garden, Henry Thompson. The Shade Garden Trial Area was established in 1997 by the Master Gardeners of Smith County to identify and trial new or underused plants that could be used for shaded landscape areas. One feature of the Shade Garden area are the Japanese maples. As part of a joint project between the Smith County Master Gardeners and the Tyler Men's Garden Club, more than 25 varieties of Japanese maples were planted in the south area of the Rose Garden. Established in the 1980s, the Heritage Rose Garden is an extension of the Lions Club Sensory Garden project that was later adopted by the Gertrude Windsor Garden Club in 1986. The purpose of the garden is to educate the public about antique roses and their use in landscaping. Since 1994, the Smith County Master Gardeners have maintained and continue to improve the garden. The maze area of the garden is comprised of a selection of hundreds of modern roses in a variety of colors. The main fountain and Queen's Court lawn is the site of the annual Queen's Tea, held during the Texas Rose Festival on the 3rd week of October each year. The lawn is also a popular location for weddings and other gatherings. The Tyler Rose Garden is the result of the passionate and tireless work by some of Tyler's most influential leaders. This one-of-a-kind treasure of Texas history exemplifies the spirit, ingenuity, and perseverance of the Tyler community. The Tyler Municipal Rose Garden is open to the public 365 days a year and hosts visitors from all around the globe who come to see this astonishing collection of some of the world's most beautiful flowers. The City of Tyler invites you to come and experience this one-of-a-kind Texas treasure for yourself.